All right, so welcome everybody to the real estate, our virtual real estate rerun, right? And what that is it is, let me stop my music. What the virtual real estate rerun is, volume 1, it is going to be a series of things now that we're going to be doing to just virtual replays. Like as we're going to this virtual space, this digital space, we're starting to see that. We are going to position ourselves to where we are going to be conduits, be better conduits and disseminators of information to the information and the content that we receive as it relates to our business, right? We're in the business of real estate. We're realtors, we're real estate brokers, real estate owners, and there's a lot of national and international information that we're able to get access to, especially now with things being adjusted with COVID-19 and self-quarantine and things like that, where people are getting more efficient of how they deliver the content and information. You don't have to drive all the way across the United States, get a hotel, stay for some nights to go to a conference or attend an event to get information. So now as we take advantage of these things, especially for our realtors, we're going to be replaying the content that we get to push them towards getting the strategies and the tools, you know, hearing another voice outside of mine to really enhance and push them in the way that they go. All right, so we got 3 great sessions today. The first one that we're going to start out with is assessing the COVID marketplace. So that is the first one that we're going to do. I'm going to get that ramped up. I mean, after that one, then we're going to, and that session is about 22 minutes. After that session, then we're going to jump into agent marketing, which is kind of like a couple of panels of agents across the United States. Matter of fact, I think across the world, and they're going to talk about different techniques and concepts that they use as far as to grow their business. And then we're going to finish it up with speaking about some wellness insights and tips on how you can prepare yourself to get ready for the day. So that's going to be the final session. And then we'll be done for the day. Day 2 will be in the books, and then we'll be ramping it up, getting ready for day 3 and closing it out with day 4 of our virtual real estate rerun, volume 1, a replay of the top 15 sessions from the Inman Connect Now virtual conference that was held a couple of weeks ago. All right, let's go. Let's jump into this thing. Let me get the first one going. Get the first one queued. Boom, it's there. Let me share my screen and shared. Boom. Live.
Hello, Inman Connect. My name is Leslie Appleton Young. I'm the chief economist with the California Association of Realtors, and I'm also a co-founder of Women Up. And I am delighted to be here to share some of the research that we've been doing over the last 2.5 months or so, as we have been attempting to get a handle on what is happening, because our typical measures of the market and consumer behavior and so on have been much more slow moving, and it seems like the last few months or so, every day there's new news and things are out of date almost immediately. So we've been doing a lot of interesting research. There is no doubt that no one knows exactly what the future brings. In fact, we're all going to be part of creating it, but I'm happy to be able to share what we've been doing, and I hope you are able to get a few tidbits out of it. So let me start by just saying I think the last 10 or 12 weeks have really pushed us all through the stages of grief, and I won't speak for everyone, but I sense more and more that we are in a period of acceptance, and that's a very positive thing, because that means we are in a position to act, to take action. And you certainly see that in the market over the last couple of weeks as the shelter-in-place orders have been gradually lifted. A lot of differences across the country in this. And speaking of that, one of the questions that we've been asking our members is how they feel about how all that is going. Are they concerned that we are taking too long to open up, or we're moving too quickly, or do you just not know? And I present this data, which essentially shows it's about a third, that we are not an industry with a consensus on what is happening with the virus and how quickly we should get back to opening things up. And just as a way of saying, I think we need to respect each other and recognize that there are different viewpoints coming into this and different conclusions going out of it, and just kind of try to sit with that a little bit. I'll also say that I think what's happened to our market and the economy has been certainly nothing I've ever experienced. It's been, the pause button has been hit. And the outcome of all of this is dependent on how long the pause button is hit. And right now there seems to be a general understanding that we are coming back gradually, but we're moving forward. And if we don't get a second wave in the fall, we will be seeing some pretty good growth numbers in the fourth quarter and into 2021. And if we do, it's going to take a lot longer. So again, a tremendous amount of uncertainty. So we've been looking at behavioral changes. We've been looking at how people are responding to the market. And I want to just briefly share with you what the various surveys have been telling us. And I'm going to start with agents. This is a weekly survey that we have been doing now for 12 weeks, and you can see there on the left hand, on the right hand side there, how long. And I think my takeaway from just the whole data set is that the market really reached its lowest ebb in the middle of April, and since that time, things have been improving a little bit by fits and starts. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So one of the questions we ask our members is, do you have a client that's been kind of hesitant to buy, holding back? And in our last week, this last week in May, 75% said yes, but in mid-April it was 91%. So an improvement from a very low bottom, if you will. How about withdrawing an offer? 32% said, yeah, that's, a third. I've had a buyer withdraw an offer, but in mid-April that was 48%. How about a seller holding back? 68% of the members said, I've had that, but in mid-April it was 81%. So you can see how this is going, right, in terms of a gradual movement away and off the bottom. 46% said that they had had a seller remove their home from the market, and that was upwards of 80% in the first couple of weeks there. It's now 46% versus 57% was the high in mid-April. A quarter said transaction fell out of escrow, 31% in mid-April. So a lot of consistency in terms of that data set, in terms of buyers and sellers just being like, what is going on? I don't know. I want to reassess. I want to pull back from the market and see what happens. Now, a lot of changes in behavior, and one of the things everyone's asking is, but how can you possibly buy and sell property without actually seeing it? So one of the questions we asked was, have you had a buyer put a contract on a home without actually seeing it? And in the last week, 13% of the members said yes, they have had that. So don't ever say never about anything. We also have noticed a big increase in vacant listings. Some of the MLSs have upwards of half of the listings vacant. And we're finding that is often to facilitate showing. So 56% in the last week said yes, vacant. And 42% of those said we did it to facilitate showing. And 3/4 of them said, I have been showing vacant property since the stay-at-home orders took place. So a lot of incentive, and I wonder how much that's going to stay with us when we get through that, because it just kind of makes it easier for everybody. What about prices? This is a question I get all the time. What is going to happen to prices? So this is us asking the agent in the field, are your buyers expecting lower prices? Well, in the very beginning, when we started asking this question in mid-April, 89–90% of you said yes. The latest week, it was 77%, which is still a very high number, but not as high as it was. And I guess as you've got buyers getting into the market and going, oh, this is a lot more competitive than I thought it was going to be. 22% said, I have had a buyer attempt to renegotiate the purchase price. That's down from when we first started asking again. This is in the middle of April, which I'm identifying as kind of the rock bottom. So, but still some pressure there from buyers expecting prices to be lower. On the other hand, we asked about sellers reducing the list price. In the last couple weeks, it's been around 29–30%. That's kind of what it normally is. We aren't seeing a response on the sell side yet. I think we will see more of that as we go forward, but initially sellers were just not too interested in doing any kind of discounting. So I mentioned that the shelter-in-place orders have been started to loosen up. So one of the questions we asked was, how comfortable are you showing property? And it looks like, and again, very understandable, the industry is fairly comfortable. The mean was about 3.8 on a scale of 1 to 5. Comfortable doing that. How quickly will you return? 51% said as soon as those orders are relaxed. And again, they are relaxing with very specific requirements of how you are to comport yourself, prepare the property, clean the property in between showings, and so on and so forth. But 51% immediately, and 1% are outliers, not until there is a vaccine. So to my earlier point about how different the attitudes and opinions are within our industry. So kind of the takeaways are initially, and by this I look at the beginning of March to middle of March to the middle of April, buyers and sellers were a little, Bambi in the headlights. We're not sure what's happening. We want to get out of it. I don't know what my financial situation is going to be. I'm just going to postpone things and put things on hold. When we dug a little deeper, we found that typically when an escrow was canceled, if it wasn't uncertainty, it had to do with finances, with people losing their jobs, losing their down payment. We still find, as usual, that when there's a delay, it has to do with financing. I think my biggest takeaway from the survey every week is looking at how adaptable the agents have been. We've had just a huge shift in terms of people doing virtual tours and e-signing and all of the things that are really been forced by the current environment. Okay, let's look at kind of just brokers for a minute, running a business. And we wanted to know, like, how are you feeling about the market? And they're fairly concerned, understandably so. That pause button was hit. And then we asked them, like, how long do you think this is going to go on? How long do you think the recovery is going to take? And about 2/3 of them think it's going to take 3 months or longer. And that, I think, is a reasonable projection. We asked about, at year end, how long do you think your business will be off? And while the ranges were big, the average was about 28%, which I think is a certainly reasonable in the ballpark number. We also asked about the pool of agents. This is a question I'm frequently getting about membership. How will we see increases because there's so many more unemployed, or will we see drops because of the fall in transactions? So when we asked the brokers, about 22% expected a 10% or more drop in their agents, but 52% didn't think there would be any change in their agent population. So I think that's tied to sort of a quick recovery, getting back to business. So kind of more on the optimistic side. Here is a breakout by firm size, and this is one of the things that's very helpful when you're looking at the industry. The larger firms and the mom and pops typically behave very, very differently. So the smaller brokers are much more optimistic about retaining their agents, and it may be because it literally is mom and pop. Whereas the larger companies with 50 or more agents, over half of them think between a 1 and a 10% drop. So this is definitely feeding into kind of the planning for the rest of this year and 2021. How confident will you be, are you, that you will be in business after the end of this year? And I'm happy to report that 57% are extremely confident and 25% very confident, but I do think you're going to see a a loss of some of the firms that are in a weaker position. And again, this is nothing new. This is just an acceleration of an existing trend. As it said in the beginning, crises accelerate, and that's, I think, what you're seeing play out in many aspects of the consumer and realtor behavior. Here's just another breakout, and the bigger companies are more confident that they will be around. What about changing how we're doing the business? Now, we asked how comfortable are your agents doing virtual transactions, and 44% said very or extremely comfortable. And my take here is that's not good enough. We are going to see much more virtual in the transaction playing out as we continue to go forward this year and into the future. So it's very, very important that all relevant players take the lead in training and education. I think it's absolutely critical, or people are going to be left behind. And the larger brokers are more comfortable with seeing their agents as more comfortable with virtual transactions. They typically have a much deeper commitment to, or at least existing libraries of training and so on, as opposed to maybe some of the smaller niche mom and pops. I don't want to overgeneralize here, just sharing the information with you. It looks like Zoom is definitely our new platform, and 2/3 of the brokers are using it regularly to connect with their agents, and over half are using it regularly to communicate with their clients. So on both kind of communication channels, there's just a lot more video conferencing going on. And the larger the firm, the more effective they think that communication is. So in a smaller firm, it's you and your spouse. There's a lot of intense face-to-face conversation going on even now, but there's certainly a scale element here. And for larger companies, they're finding that video conferencing really increases engagement, intimacy, and connection between team players. And then we asked about, will you continue this in the future? And really, regardless of size, there's definitely a commitment to making this part of what we do. New training, everybody kind of seems to recognize that we definitely need kind of the new training. So I think we're going to see more of that going forward. Now, what about kind of the shape and structure of the industry? And again, an acceleration of existing trends. What about office consolidations? 36% of the respondents said yes, thinking about that, but much more likely in the larger firms, the firms with 50 or more agents. You're in an environment right now where razor thin margins are really razor thin if they're positive at all. So cutting costs and kind of leveraging the efficiency of virtual communication is really where it's at. It's an obvious change, and clearly the kind of attack on bricks and mortar has been going along for a long time, right? This is just an acceleration. We also asked if you're going to consider reducing your footprint. 39% said yes, but when we break it out by firm size, 63% of the larger offices or larger brokerages will be looking at not renewing at least some of their leases when that happens. So again, something that's been happening, we're just going to see more of it. So one of the most interesting things about the research, and it's the most time consuming, is looking at the verbatims, looking at the comments that people submit. And what you hear here is just out with the old and in with the new. Not a big surprise, but I'm looking at my expenses in a different way, and I'm getting rid of the phones on the desk, and I'm getting rid of the shared computers, and I'm really embracing the way things are done now. You also see a recognition that I need to train my agents. I need a virtual transaction platform. I need to be on top of all of my numbers, and I need to have gloves, hand sanitizers, whatever is required by your local jurisdiction. I need to have all that. Those are now really tools of the trade, and probably will be for some time to come. We also asked just what are your thoughts about the future of the industry? And here we have someone thought, I think we're going to see a reduction in the agent population by up to 1/3, smaller footprints, more virtual marketing. I would love to see the simplification of the home buying and selling process. Wouldn't that be, the something we've been talking about in these rooms for many, many years. And this is the one that really I thought was so beautiful, because we asked, what have you learned coming out of this, or looking back on what you've been through? And this comment was, take nothing for granted, how important communication plays into client relationships and retention. Let clients know they are cared about no matter the circumstances, and that we are here for them no matter what happens. Remain flexible and open to change. There's beauty in everything, and there will be good that comes out of the last 30 days of the world being on pause. And I will tell you, we talk about real estate being a relationship business, and yet when you survey consumers, one of their ongoing complaints for years, decades, is, I'd never heard from my agent again. So what an opportunity this is to connect with clients and just say, how are you doing? How are things going? And then finally, just a few words on consumers. We did a very large consumer survey. Every month we ask consumers, is it a good time to sell, and is it a good time to buy? And to the strength of the buy side, that came up in May. And on the sell side, we had a huge drop between March and April, but it's starting to come back again as well. So I think that's a really important message to get out, that people are interested in viewing the market. We also did a survey of potential buyers and sellers that was in the field in the beginning of April, and I just wanted to share some of what they said about technology and about virtual transactions, because certainly that's one of the concerns. How are my clients going to feel about doing this? And almost 60% said they were extremely or very comfortable with signing documents electronically. So you're always going to have people that don't, but I think the consumers may be ahead of the industry on this one. How comfortable would you be signing home sale documents? Over two-thirds very comfortable. For buyers, 70% are very comfortable touring a home virtually. So there'll be a lot more kind of weaning through the pool of the houses they're interested in with that. And two-thirds very comfortable touring virtually as well. So those are, I think, some of the things that we are going to see stick as we go through this. I think the key right now is to not lose sight of, what do I need to do today to take advantage of and be prepared for the opportunities in the market going forward. You may have seen this on Twitter, where people were asked to send in a picture of their home office, and it's so funny and sad, but a lot of people were not prepared for the work at home world, and it's not really working out very well for them. So that certainly is a major change. There are not everyone is able to do that, but there are companies that are saying, we are never going to open to the same scale that we have been in the past. So I think the work from home, work from anywhere is just a huge change that's going to mean people demanding different types of housing and demanding them in different locations, right? And really rethinking lifestyle and life choices. More saving and less spending. We've talked about the experiential economy for a long time. I think this is another acceleration of that. Definitely online retailing, less travel, maybe far away and closer to home because people feel safe. And just a reinvention of the house. This isn't where you leave in the morning and go to work, come home at the evening, have dinner, go to sleep, and repeat. This is where I actually live. It's where I work. It's my office. It's my gym. It's my school. It's a restaurant. It's multi-generational. So just a relook for all of us as what we need, what we want, what we can aspire to in our housing, with the caveat that safety and health are really predominant. So I'll close with my predictions. I think residential real estate is one of the big winners coming out of this, not just pent-up demand and supply, making, with incredibly low mortgage rates, but a new type of demand with new space requirements in the home and where the home is located. One way to think of where we are right now is it's January all over again, right? What happens in January? Buyers are ready to go, and sellers are still kind of figuring out what they need to do to get their house listed. So agents are kind of bridging those two two sides, just like they always do. And I just want to close with a plea for utilizing any vacant commercial and retail space to increase housing supply, which is an issue in many, many parts of the country. There are going to be empty malls that can be turned into villages where you can find affordable housing, senior housing, homeless housing. There's a lot of opportunity. There'll be plenty of parking, and that kind of reuse is just absolutely critical. So remember who your competition is. It's always just you yesterday, and anyone that's outworking you. So that's something you have really complete control over. So those are just a few highlights of the industry changes and consumer changes that we've been seeing in the market. These slides will be posted on the Woman Up blog. I also want to invite all of you to attend Friday, 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We do a Talk It Out session with wonderful interviews, and I do kind of a segment on the market, and we'd be delighted to have you there. So that's Woman Up with an A and a exclamation point at the end. So have a great Inman now, and look forward to seeing many of you. Thank you.
All right. Number 1 in the books. What's up, Merle? Let's see if we got you, if we can hear you today. Unmute yourself. I think it might have been me.
No, it was me.
It was you?
It was me.
Yeah, because I still can't hear you.
Because you still can't hear me?
No.
Yes, you can.
Come on, Merle. No. I could hear you on the video, though. I think when I listened to the video replay from yesterday, we could hear it on the video, but I just can't hear you here. So that's why I thought it was me.
Oh.
I don't know what's going on. But anyway,
my God.
We got the chat though. I see the chat.
But I fixed it.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but that's okay. So look, quick recaps. Instead of waiting on doing the recap on the back end, I thought it would be good to do it in between the videos because this one isn't a long one. But I think she gave some good insight around where the market's going. Now a lot of her information and a lot of her data was out of California. But I think it was still good things to understand.
It was.
I do believe that, or I agree that the buyers and the sellers did put a little pause in place as it related to the COVID piece. But I think that we're now in a position to where they are more comfortable moving forward. We're seeing activity pick up here in Houston as well. So I absolutely agree with her as it relates to that. We did see open houses and listings get canceled and showings and all of that stuff. Discount. Now she did mention about discount listings and the share of discount listings not being affected. And I think it's really the same thing around here in Houston as well. She talked about brokers being concerned about recovery. I know as far as myself being a broker, I did have a level of concern, but with the programs from the federal government, the PPP, the SBA, unemployment, benefits, opportunity, disaster unemployment, I think with those things in place, that now I know that really mitigated a lot of my concerns as a broker and us being able to survive. They talked about people losing agents. One of the things that she spoke about was that it's just accelerating the trend. I agree with her on that. I think it's a trend just being accelerated. That's what the disaster, what COVID did when it came to that.
You know what, Michael?
We talked about the difference of, that's the difference of where large firms and smaller firms and how they are adapting and how they're relating to these changes as it relates to agents even consolidating space, things of the nature. So I thought that was some pretty cool information.
Michael.
She talked about only 44% of agents being comfortable with virtual transactions. So that definitely needs to be adjusted.
That's it. Yeah.
Because absolutely, that's where we're moving. I know, Merle, I'll speak for you. You're talking about having a client that's wanting to buy from Dubai. And yeah, if that's the situation, she's going to have to do everything virtually. And I just believe that's where we're moving. So as agents, we got to get trained up and get comfortable, get more than comfortable. We have to become efficient. We have to become badass when it comes to
Yeah.
virtual transactions, because that's what's happening. That's where we're going. Talked about Zoom. So yeah, that's like pointing out the obvious, Captain Obvious. Zoom has increased. Well, absolutely. Zoom has a higher market share than airlines at this point. So that increased by 66%. Let's see. Oh, somebody's saying they're having issues. I'll probably help her out with that. All right, office consolidation, talk about 36%. And then she did the consumer survey. Thought that was cool. People interested in viewing. And it's the same thing that I'm feeling. Like, people ask me, like, how has the market been impacted with COVID? And it just seems as if people are more comfortable with the situation. They're comfortable. Buyers are comfortable. People want to sell are comfortable. I got a phone call yesterday about someone want to put their house on the market. So people are
Give it to
comfortable.
me.
And I think that's
Give it to me, Michael. Give it to me.
Even you, right? The Merle say, even her.
No, give it to me.
The Merle talking about she wish she would have invested in Zoom. I agree with you. Yeah, so that's consumer survey. People are interested in viewing. They're still comfortable. She also talked about this new landscape of what people are going to now want in their homes, work from home spaces, which kind of echoes what we talked about yesterday when we looked at the session around listings. These work from home spaces, these relaxation spaces that people are going to want to have more and better amenities in the event that they have to spend more time at home. And then she really feels like residential real estate is going to be one of the big winners as all of this comes out. Pent-up demand is going to flow out. So we'll be able to capitalize on that. New space requirements, geographic requirements, low interest rates. So we know that the interest rates are still extremely low. So it's a great climate for buyers to come in. And it's also a great opportunity. This really spoke to me, got me to thinking, is that got to do a better job, got to put things in place to where we can consistently stay in constant communication with our clients. I know for a fact that is one of the biggest ways, if not the biggest way, to have a sustainable realtor business, by having something in place to where you're constantly in communication with your past clients, because it fosters repeat business and it fosters a referral base, strong referral base. And I know it's one of the things that realtors are not doing a good job of, and why their businesses aren't as sustainable as they could be. All right, so that was that. Y'all ready for the next one? So the next one that we're going to be dealing with is agent marketing. This one's going to be about an hour, but it's going to just speak to content strategy in today's climate. When it's going to relate to updating websites, updating listings, deciding how to post on social media, learning technical ways, how to create, how to distribute videos, things like that. So it's a complete agent marketing session. And I know that you're going to be able to pull a lot of great takeaways from it. So let me go ahead and get this queued up, and then we'll go home to the next one. So boom, we share, and boom, boom.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I'm super excited to be here with you guys today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let us know where you're tuning in from in the chat. Let us know that you can hear us okay. We have an exciting next hour for you today. We're going to be talking all about agent marketing. I have about a 15-minute presentation that I'm going to get into here in just a minute. I've got some thoughts and ideas that I want to share with all of you. And then we've got some really great panels that we're going to be talking about after that. So I'm excited. All right, so let me go ahead and pull up my slides here, and you guys can see these. All right, so Marketing Mastermind, what is working right now? As I was preparing for this presentation, I was thinking back to the last time I was speaking on an Inman stage, which was back in January at Inman Connect in New York. And I have to say that feels like a lifetime ago. Obviously, so much is going on in our world, as we all know, between what's going on with the pandemic and everything that's happening right now with social injustice. There's a lot that's going on. And when I stood on stage back at Inman Connect in New York, I talked about a couple things that I thought were really, really important as we looked ahead into 2020. And so I want to share a few things from that today, because I think some of those things are still relevant, but obviously we are in a whole new environment. So one of the first things I said back in January is that relationships are king. And I believe that now more than ever, as we look at what's happening in our world, as we look at just the state of real estate, one of the things I love most about real estate is a relationship business. For most people, buying and selling a home is still one of the biggest moments in their life. It's right up there with getting married or having kids. It's still such an important thing. And now more than ever is that time to build those relationships. So if relationships are king, content is queen. And I still believe that. I think it was important when we talked about it back in January, and it's even more important right now. And one of the things we're seeing from agents and brokers are agents who are folks who are creating their own content, who are really leaning into who they are and who they're not. They're creating original content like video content, Facebook Live content, and they're being really relevant and really authentic right now, which leads me to the next piece, which is authenticity is everything. So if relationships are king, if content is queen, right now, more than ever, it's really all about authenticity. And I know that's such a buzzword, but it is true. It's more important than ever before. If there was ever a time to turn off automation, if there was ever a time to really show up and be there and dig into who you are and what your brand is all about and what you stand for, it's now more than ever. And by the way, one thing I want to mention really quick, if we're not yet connected on social media, as we go through, we have a lot of great stuff we're going to talk about here today. Please make sure you post and take some pictures, take your phone out, do some screenshots. Feel free to tag me. I'm actually going to drop my Instagram in the chat here for those of you who aren't connected with me yet, because I think we're going to talk about obviously a lot of important things today. And this is a huge piece of it, this authenticity, right? So let's kind of dig into a little bit more when it comes to this. I want to give you some tips and some things, some examples of where we see agents and brokers doing this really, really well right now. So one big area, of course, is being helpful. As we look around and see what's going on in our world, asking ourselves, who needs the most help? Who can you elevate in your community? We see agents who are doing things like they're looking at Nextdoor, or they're a part of Facebook groups. They're supporting their local businesses by sharing their posts. They're highlighting them on Facebook Live. And, I think especially right now, we're at a time where a lot of us don't know what to say. We don't know what the right thing to say is. And I have often felt like when you can take the spotlight off yourself and shine it on someone else, especially right now, that's such a powerful thing. So that's number one. And by the way, that checks all the boxes as far as building relationships, content, and being authentic. So be helpful. That's obviously very important. Also, right now is not the time for marketing as usual, as we all know. We are seeing Facebook groups really blow up in a big, big way. Back in January, right around the time of Inman Connect, Facebook ran a number of ads. In fact, they ran a nearly $6 million ad during the Super Bowl, which feels like forever ago. But that ad was all about Facebook groups. And when we look at one of the ways to really get the most traction on Facebook groups, as well as Facebook Live, as we all know, can be really, really powerful. So Facebook groups are a great opportunity to build that community. So you might consider starting a Facebook group for your own local groups that you're a part of. Our kids are very involved in Scouts. They're very involved in Little League. You might be involved in a mom's group or Rotary Club. There's these communities that we're already a part of, and Facebook groups can be a great opportunity to bring those people together. And like I said, now is also a time to turn off that automation. I know a lot of folks in the past, it was really easy to sort of set it and forget it, or pay someone to do it all for you, especially when it comes to your social media marketing. But now more than ever is that time to really show up and really be authentic. So I've got a few examples here on the screen of some folks that I think are doing this really, really well. We see a lot of leaders, a lot of folks in our community who are stepping up, who are getting on camera, who aren't afraid to talk about, what they believe in and what their company is all about. And we're also seeing some folks doing some really amazing things. We've seen some folks inside of our Get Social Smart Academy who are surprising their neighbors and their community by, with flamingos. And we've seen that take off in a really big way. We're seeing a lot of people do virtual open houses, especially through Zoom, through Facebook Live. As the world starts to kind of open back up and as things start to, as we start to do more things like showings and open houses and things like that, I only think technology and using tools like Zoom and virtual open houses and doing what we're doing here is only going to grow. And only going to increase. You can see a few other examples on your screen. Eddie Campos, who's on the lower left-hand corner of your screen, he's doing a great job over on YouTube. He's reaching out to local leaders. He reached out to his local police chief. He reached out to his local fire chief and got them on camera and interviewed them and talked about some of the issues that are happening right now, which I think is so powerful. Betty Russo is also another great example. She's been doing a lot of great videos highlighting folks in her local community. And that type of content, when you can shine the light on someone else, is really the type of content right now, especially in social media, that's such a powerful way to engage with people. I can see the chat here. Laura Monroe says, "You've been flocked. I'm always jealous when my neighbors get flocked," right? Exactly. I'm just looking at the chat here. Renee says, "The customer cannot be automated. We are far too wise." Yes, absolutely, right? Absolutely. So that is very important. Another big thing that I think is important right now is that it does not need to always be about business, right? You will never regret being kind. And I think this is one of the things that if there was a bright spot that's happening over the last few days, few weeks, few months, as we've all gone through so many different things, it's the kindness that we're seeing. And one of the things I love most about this, the Inman industry or the Inman event and the Inman community is that so many of us, we're in this business for the long haul. We're not going anywhere, right? So really, being kind and reaching out to your current and past clients. I'm sure a lot of you have already done this. I'm sure a lot of you did this back in March and April, but now is also a great time to do this as well and to reach out to people and say, "How are you? Is there anything I can help you with? Do you need anything?" And I think we have an opportunity right now to be reassuring, be calm. I love what Sarita said in the chat, be human, absolutely. Barb says, so needed right now. Yes, Ann Cummings says, kindness is so important now more than ever, right? Now more than ever, I think is so important. Also, now more than ever is the time to get on camera, to have your voice heard, and to create some original content. And I know a lot of you guys have heard me say this before, but for a lot of us, we don't always like how we look. We don't always like how we sound. We're not sure how to do video or Facebook Live, and then we don't do it. And I remember a good friend of mine a few years ago very lovingly remind me, she said, "Katie, that's how you look and that's how you sound. So you got to get over it." And we're actually going to talk a lot about video throughout our session here today. But, getting on camera, I think, is important, whether that's through Facebook Live. One thing we're seeing a lot of folks do really well at right now is create one-to-one videos. So if you're listening to this and maybe you're a little bit more on the beginning side of things and you're nervous to get on camera, you're nervous to do a Facebook Live, what we can all do is take out our phone and you can record a 20 or 30-second video and share that with your neighbor, your mom, your best friend, your clients, just checking in on people, seeing how they're doing. Of course, like I said, we've talked a lot about Facebook Live. Facebook Live is really one of the best ways to get a lot of traction on Facebook right now. We're seeing agents who are using tools like Zoom, Be Live. Some are using StreamYard as well to be really creative, again, to highlight folks in their community and to really be honest about what's happening and how they're working with people in a really, really safe way. Nicole Lopez says, "Consumers can tell the difference between being nice and kind." You're so right, Katie. Thank you. Yes, I think right now our meter for what's real and what's not real is like at an all-time high, right? And sometimes if we're not sure what to say, right, we might not say anything at all. I think it's important to pause and to think about what we're going to say and be thoughtful, right? Really, really thoughtful. And I've got another few examples here of some folks who I think are doing some things really, really well. Red Oak Realty, we've seen them do a lot of great content. I've been loving, they've been doing a whole series over on Instagram Live where they are interviewing different folks and just being really helpful, being that voice of help and really informative content, which is great. Team Diva Real Estate, these gals always do an amazing job. Full disclosure, they are a client of mine, but they do an amazing job, with their virtual open houses and getting on camera and really standing for what they believe in and highlighting their local community. Katie Clancy, who I know a lot of you know, she's, obviously an Inman ambassador. She's been a dear friend of mine, also doing a great job just with video, getting on camera. Again, we're seeing lots of folks doing lots of really great things, especially with virtual open houses, getting on camera, being transparent, letting people know what to expect. Okay, here's the part where I take a deep breath because I wasn't quite sure if I was going to talk about in this presentation. But as we all saw just yesterday, we saw a sea of black boxes over on Instagram and social media. And if I may be so bold as a white woman to say, when it comes to our marketing, it's so much more than just one post on one day. I know for myself over the last few days that I've been very humbled and saddened. And I know that I think it's so important, and I would imagine a lot of you are hopefully feeling the same way, that it's important to highlight Black voices in our content and our marketing and our social media and our Facebook Live content, not avoiding those tough or uncomfortable conversations, and really thinking about not just one post on one day, but what's the long-term changes your business and company will implement, especially as far as your marketing and how will you educate yourself. So one book that I ordered just a couple days ago, and it's on back order, so hopefully it will arrive quickly, is The Color of Law, which I have been so humbled really in the last few years to really learn about the background behind fair housing and what that really means. And so I just want to encourage you to educate yourself. I know for myself, I wasn't quite sure what to post over the last few days, but just reaching out to my community and looking for resources has been so powerful. So thank you guys for the positive messages here in the chat. I appreciate that. I would also recommend, this isn't necessarily a race-related book, but Ron Tite wrote a book that some of you have heard me been talking about over the past few weeks. He wrote a really great book called Think, Do, Say. And this is a really great book, especially when it comes to branding and thinking about, what it is that you think about, what it is that you do, and what is it that you say, right? That's really, really powerful. Hi, Sue, I can see you. You might have to turn your camera off. I don't think she knows that we can see her. So Think, Do, Say, that's a really, really powerful thing as well. You gotta love being live, right? Alrighty, I know we have a limited time together, and I think I have one more minute or maybe 30 seconds. So a few quick resources that I talked about here today. Obviously Facebook Live, there's some great resources up here for project management, graphic design. I love BombBomb for video email, Box Brownie, a lot of us have talked about. Video Shop is a great video editing app. MailChimp's great for email marketing. The last two things I just want to share with you as we wrap up here today is this. Don't count the things you do the things that count. If there was ever a time to do the things that count, it's right now. So I would love if you would share this message out. Again, feel free to take out your phone, tag me if you'd like, tag him and whatever. Don't do the things you do the things that count. And in preparation for this presentation, I wanted to put together a link on my website with my slides, because I know I kind of flew through these really quick, as well as just some additional links and resources. So I'm going to just drop this in the chat here really quick so you guys have that. But I know I talked really fast. So KittyLuts.com/InmanConnect now. It's going to have all my slides and a bunch of other resources. Okay. Whew. I think we did it in 15 minutes. Thank you guys for all the comments, by the way. I see all your comments. You guys are awesome. I love it. Sarita, thank you so much. Sarita says, what I'm learning is that I overthink what others might perceive of my post, but when I do, I always get feedback from others. I love that. Awesome. Okay, I think we are about to bring on our next few folks, I believe. Yes, here we go. All right, so our next session, this is actually a really great segue. So we are going to talk with Kendall Bonner, who's with Remax Capital Realty, and Victoria Kennedy with Atlas Realty. Laura says, this is the prettiest session ever. Oh, thank you, Laura. I appreciate it. So I'm very excited today to talk to these two ladies about how to pivot your content strategy in today's climate. And I know we've got Kendall. I know Victoria had a couple connection issues. Can both of you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Victoria, you made it. You're able to connect.
I made it. I'm at the local Coffee Bean. Of course it's shut. They won't let me in, but I'm outside and I'm making it work.
Oh, good. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm so excited to be chatting with these two ladies here today. For those of you who don't know, Kendall, she is the broker owner of Remax Capital Realty, and Victoria Kennedy, she's the CEO of Atlas Realty. So welcome. Thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk about how to pivot your content in today's climate. And, we had a conversation just a few days ago. And obviously even just since then, things have pivoted, in a big way. So I know I've got some questions here for both of you, but before we kind of dive into that, how are you guys doing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting time. It's a time for real conversations. It's a time to be human. It's a time to, everything that you were saying, Katie, before, I agree with 100%. You were speaking and I was in the back being like, amen, yes, yes, that's exactly what I mean. Now has never been a better time to connect in a real way. People are scared, people have questions. Be engaged in that conversation. Don't be afraid to have an opinion that you think might be controversial, right? Because that's how conversations get started and that's how change gets initiated. And I think now we're seeing it's more than just business. It's more than just, hey, I'm here for all your buying and selling needs. No, those days are gone. There is a new normal now. And this new normal has humanity back in the business world. And that's a great thing. That's something to be embraced. And just like you were saying with the different books, the different resources that you have, this is the time to step up and do more than just, do one Black post. It's the square. Now's the time to engage in these conversations as a realtor, as a human being, right? And I think that now we're seeing it's not just, political stuff and I'm apolitical and so I'm only going to post about buying or selling. You can't do that anymore now, guys. Everything is holistic, right? Even in your silence says something, right? So don't be afraid to engage in that conversation, because whether you like it or not, we're in it. So might as well embrace it and try to be that voice of reason and calm in your community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for asking how we're doing. It's been rough, honestly, right? I mean, I think that with COVID and the pandemic, and then followed up by the more recent events, I think people are grieving from both of those events. And I think we have to be patient with ourselves and with one another with our grief and our frustrations, whether we're frustrated because we can't get back to work, or we're frustrated because we have to go back to work and we're scared. There's all those different feelings that each and every one of us are going through. And I think that for me, the word of the year has been empathy, and trying to find the space to be empathetic, even for people whose opinions, thoughts, perceptions of the world and of reality and of the pandemic, of social injustice, to be empathetic towards them and to understand that what they're feeling, what their thoughts are real, and that we should try to be focused on what we know to be good, what we know to be right, what we know to be American, right? I mean, people are saying, for example, I read something, all lives can't matter until Black lives matter too. And I think that that's so important. I'm even having that conversation with my children. And I know, Katie, you posted something this week about how to educate your children, and which caused the book conversation, which all I can say is I love it. I'm humbled by it. It brings me to tears swiping through Instagram and seeing all the blackouts and seeing all the commentary and the people that are standing up and we're taking a knee, right? Because I was an athlete. You know what we did when you have an injured player in the field? Everybody takes a knee, both sides. Both sides take a knee because we're concerned about the injured person on the field. And in this case, we have injured Americans in the field. And I think it's important for us to either take a knee or stand up, but let's not sit down and be quiet anymore. That's how I feel about it.
I love that. I love that. So that was just beautifully said. I struggle because I know we have like all these things we were going to talk about, but I just feel like if we didn't actually talk about what's going on right now and how people are addressing that in their business, we would be doing a disservice to the audience with Inman. Kendall, I think if I may speak for a lot of folks who are listening right now, I think that I would imagine there's probably a lot of people who are feeling like, okay, we want to be supportive but we have business, and where does that fall into? Like, how do we talk about business? When is that right? Like, I'm sure there's agents listening going, I have a virtual open house this weekend. Am I allowed to talk about that? Like, and I don't know if we have the right answer, but I would just be curious, maybe both of you could chime in with your thoughts, with your opinions about that.
I mean, I think the world still has to keep spinning, right? But we also have to acknowledge, like I said, and have empathy for what's happening right now. But I think that we all still have jobs to do, things, people to lead, people to serve, right? And I think we just use our empathetic hearts with kindness and authenticity to serve that community at a higher level. You know, I do think it's important. I don't think that we need to spend the entire time talking about those things. I know people came here to get ideas on how to pivot for their marketing. And I think it is really important that we get to that, you know, but I also do appreciate you allowing an opportunity to talk about this. And I think because we're talking about pivoting during marketing, it is important to talk about all the issues happening. And, you know, right now, I think that people in some ways have to double down on the things that are digital right now. I mean, the digital space has a volume that is so much higher than any other media out there. And so I think we need to turn up the volume on the things that are important, that are authentic, that are empathetic, while also making sure that we are enhancing the customer's experience while doing our job, which is helping people buy and sell real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. Victoria, what are your thoughts?
Well, I love what Kendall said. I mean, absolutely. Leading with authenticity is 100% the name of the game. You know, we can't think about this as transactional. This is relational. You know, the whole thing about real estate, relational, okay? And so when you talk about doing posts of, can I post open houses when I also post the black square? That's real. That's real. That's what people want to see. That's what people will connect with, right? Of, yeah, I have an open house on Saturday, but you know what? I'm also really upset about what's going on right now in the world. And both are okay, because that's what it means to be human. It means this is going on in my life. Yeah, I'm like you. I also have a job and I also do these things, but this upsets me, and it's okay to be human. And right now, as you said, Kendall, so brilliantly, everything is online right now. We can't connect with people in a physical human way. So we have to use our humanity and our empathy online. Right? This is why all of us, Katie, Kendall, we're stressing so how it's important to have this video to show people, look, I'm scared, I'm frustrated just like you, but this is the way forward. This is how I'm handling it. Yes, I'm still having an open virtual house on the weekends, but I'm also upset about this. And if you want to talk about it, I'm here for you. Yeah. Those kinds of open communications to show, yeah, I'm a business person and yeah, I'm here to help you, but I'm also a human being. And that's how we make real estate more transactional and more relational, and we bring the humanity back into our business.
Can I make one other point? This brings to mind, I am an acronym queen. Like, people that know me, I love acronyms. I have an acronym for like everything. And one that came to me during the pandemic that I made up is about, and I think this is what the world needs right now, is leadership, right? And to lead. And each of us is a leader in our own ways, to our own sphere of influence, whether it's our families, our children, our friends. We all have an opportunity to lead. And so I came up with an acronym for LEAD. And I think that whether you're talking about the pandemic or social injustice, LEAD applies. L is listen. We have to just start listening. You know, too many of us do too much talking and not enough listening. Same with your sphere of influence, your buyers and your sellers. Listen to them. Give them an opportunity to share what they need. E is for empower. Empower the people around you. Give them the resources and the tools so that they can not be held back by anything, that they can they can buy and sell with courage and with strength and with knowledge, right? We want to empower them. A is for appreciate. When you're a good leader, you appreciate the people around you, because if you didn't have anyone who was willing to follow you, you couldn't lead anyone, right? So it's important to appreciate others and appreciate those relationships. And D is develop. You know, you've got to build up others. You've got to teach them, educate them, you know, help them to move forward and take steps forward. And I think, you know, that is where, if you really want to double down on your marketing, apply those concepts of lead and, you know, call your sphere of influence, find out what they want, go and get it and give it to them. It's that simple.
I love that. Amen. Yes. I'm all about that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kendall, that is exactly what I love, because right now it has never been a better time to be that authority and that leader in your local community. Yes. Because the pandemic affects every city, every state so uniquely. So people in your city are thinking, I'm reading all these things on the news, but I don't know what that means for my city. I don't know what that means for us specifically. Now is your chance as an individual realtor to rise up to the occasions and say, look, this is my job. This is what I do every day. Let me show you, let me lead you by the hand of what's going on for us specifically, For us, Houston, Las Vegas, Atlanta, I hear you, I see you. This is what's going on for us, right? This is the perfect time to be that authority. And you know, you do yourself and your people a disservice when you don't, because you know what's going on and you can truly help them right now. So take that stand.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love that. Our audience is loving that. I can see lots of people chiming in the chat, which is awesome. So I'd love to just kind of talk a little bit about some of the tactics that, you know, we've talked about as far as pivoting. And Kendall, I wanted to ask you, because when we talked a couple days ago about this session, you talked about this idea of digital door knocking, which I love. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that idea and how you're incorporating that in your business?
Yeah, so those of you that, you know, when we talk about pivoting, you know, again, this is not something that's new to a lot of the people in the digital space, but it's something that they can double down on. But for those of you that haven't been in this space, this is something you need to lean in on, which is deepening digital relationships and digital door knocking. Digital door knocking is a concept that I picked up from a really good friend of mine, Michael Thorne, out of Canada. And he was on my podcast, which is at Improve Your Hustle. And he was talking to me about this concept, and I just, like, all these bells went off, all these ahas, you know, occurred, because I understood the concept. I just didn't have a name for it, and he named it for me. And basically, I asked people this, and he asked me this, which is, when you go and physically door knock a home in a neighborhood, who is that convenient for? It's convenient for you, not the consumer, right? Not for the person who's on the receiving end of that door knock. But when we go online, and we create video content, we edu-market, and we story sell, and we do interviews, and we become ambassadors of our community, and we become resources and authorities. We create what he calls digital door knocks, right? Which allows customers to come to you and come to your content and build know, like, and trust at their convenience, right? At the time when it makes sense for them. And I love this concept because, you know, how many doors can you physically door knock in an hour? I don't know. Maybe if you're lucky, 10, if houses are close by and only one person answers your door. Visually, you could be door knocking 100 homes in a minute, you know, because people can all be online, absorbing your content, learning from you, building that relationship with you, because over 55% of relationship and is built and communication is expressed through physical contact, like visual contact. And, you know, getting face-to-face to me is no longer necessarily, we used to say face-to-face is the best connection, right? Like getting toe-to-toe with someone. It's not as efficient or as scalable or duplicatable as doing it via video. Video to me is probably your number one mode of communication that has the highest level of efficiency and the highest level of convenience, both for you and the person.
Especially right now with the pandemic going on.
100%.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what you said, Kendall, video is where it's at, guys. And to give you another actionable step, I had a client and we did a quick video of what's going on with the coronavirus in Tampa, Florida, which is where he was. And what we did was a Facebook ad that was only to his sphere, right? So we uploaded his email list that is just his sphere. So, you know, everyone talks about mailers and direct mailers, and that's great. Someone sees it once, they'll remember you for 5 seconds, and then you're out the door, right? And
you're in the recycle bin.
But if you make a Facebook ad, right, just to your custom sphere, every time they go on Facebook, they're gonna see your video, whether they want to or not, they're gonna see your video. And you know what? It's gonna be valuable. It's not you being like, I'm there for your buying and selling needs. It's, hey guys, hey Tampa, my friends in Tampa, I hear you, I see you, probably scared, you probably have questions. Look, this is what's going on for our city specifically. This is what the market's doing. This is why you should buy or sell. And if you do sell, these are the action steps that you should take. Look, if you have any questions, just let me know, I'm here to help you. We did this with one of my clients, just to give you an example of how powerful this can be. And 2 people in his sphere reached out and said, I completely forgot that you're a realtor. And come on, how many people does that happen to? You know, and thank you so much. I watched your video, and can you help me list my home? I'm scared to do it right now, but can you help me? He got 2 listings in 1 month because of this, right? People need to know that what you do, but not in a really salesy way. This is a time to be of service to people. This is a time to provide value, to be that leader, as Kendall was saying, right? Lead by example, lead by providing value first, and then your humanity, and then people want to build a relationship with you.
100%.
Well, and I love what you said about also making that really personal. And when it comes to content and just marketing, I think when you can think about, it's less about you, right? And hey, I'm a realtor, I'm number one, call me today, but it's more about who's your audience and who are you serving and how can you help them? I also think it helps us kind of wrap our head around, like, do we talk about business? Do we not talk about business right now? It becomes a lot easier when you think about, you know what, it is business, but if you can come at it with a servant's heart, as I think both of you, not to put words in your mouth, but as I listen to both of you, I really feel that from both of you. You know, really putting your clients first, you know, as far as their needs.
Yeah, and another piece I would say to marketing and how someone should think about their marketing and or focus on the customer experience, right? How is the customer experiencing your marketing? Think about that before you put your marketing pieces together. Does it come across salesy? Is it convenient? Is it efficient? Because that's what people will pay more for nowadays than ever before, efficiency and convenience. So if you can combine those two pieces as a part of your sales process and then market that, tell people about that. That's their story selling, or, you know, marketing that to them about, you know, what's changed in the industry or what's changed right now because of COVID, what's changed and what hasn't changed, right? Like start educating people on those kinds of things. And you can enhance the customer experience, and then people will want to engage with your content because it'll be relevant and interesting to them. It's when we focus on what we need first, i.e. I need sellers, I need buyers, I need clients, I need contracts, you know, that's where we break down, that's where we mess up. But when we focus on what the consumer needs, you know, then that's when we make that deeper connection. That's when they call us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And just to piggyback on that, something, if you're afraid of video, I know we're talking about video a lot, and if it's something that you're like, gosh, girls, I'm still not sure, you can still make this work for you. You can do a lead magnet. And what that means is just a fancy word for go to Canva. It's completely free. Katie was talking about it. And you just say 5 things you need to know about selling your home in coronavirus in Atlanta, in Houston, right? Make it hyper specific for your market, right? And say, here's this free guide, you know, if you need help, here's this guide that I made for free. That's providing real value. You don't have to be in front of a camera. And people say, oh, geez, this person, all she does is provide value and value and value. I want to work with her. She seems like she knows how to sell a house. That's the person I want to call, right? It's things like this, thinking outside of the box. I can drop an example. I did a guide, how to thrive in real estate during the coronavirus, right? It sort of went viral. We had hundreds of downloads because it wasn't like, call me for your marketing needs. It was like, guys, this is scary. Here are some things that you can do to help you. Right? These things are important. Just giving out free resources and being that voice, that leader that's providing value.
Yeah, I love that. I know you mentioned Canva. I'd love to kind of, I know we've got about 8 or 9 minutes here to kind of maybe we could talk also a little bit about some of your favorite tools. You know, Kendall, when we talked, you had a couple favorite tools that you loved, and then you know, Victoria, feel free to jump into with some of your favorite tools. That's always the question. I'm like, okay, this all sounds great, but how can I actually create some of this stuff?
So my number one tool, okay, for video. I started doing videos consistently over 2 years, about 2 years ago. And part of the reason why I struggled with video, and I joke about this, I did this on the stage at an event I spoke at, is we all think we're Shrek, right? In word and voice, like Katie mentioned at the top of our talk here. And I said, okay, part of why we think we're Shrek, it's not that we're Shrek, it's our lack of confidence, or our knowing what to say, things like that. And so I found an app because I am not spontaneous. I'm a planner 100%, right? So I have to plan things. I have to plan what I say. I have to know it all. The look, this is all planned, people, right? Okay. So I bought a teleprompter on my phone for when I record my videos. And that was a game changer for me. That provided so much comfort, so much safety, because then I knew what I was going to say. I eliminated all my all my delays, all my rambling, all of the things that I don't like about when I speak. I was able to eliminate that through this app. And so this program's called Big View. I'm going to post it in the chat here. So there's a link to the app itself, but not only is it a teleprompter, guys, and you don't have to use it with the teleprompter, you can or you cannot, but also does green screen, word trim, crops your video shape. It does, you can add your logos, intro, outro, business cards, and it also does subtitles and closed caption. Now, if you are not using closed caption as part of your video, you are making a huge mistake. When in the world of Facebook and Instagram, we are subject to the scroll. And if someone gets to your video on the scroll and cannot physically listen to your video, guess what? They keep scrolling, right? So if you want people to stop scrolling and actually engage with your content, add closed caption. You will get so many more views on your video and so much more engagement because people don't have to actually listen to it. They can read along, read your lips, and still engage with the content that you're producing. So that is my #1 app. It was a game changer for me, and I know it's changed a lot of other people's video game or their abilities, right? It's increased their skills. And now I can do a video without using the teleprompter if I want to. I'm more comfortable going live just because now I've built my confidence. So I definitely recommend, and I did post a video in my YouTube channel on how to use BigView. So if you want to go check that out, it was a video I did for my agents and a Zoom call during COVID, how to use BigView. Please go check that out as well. So that's my #1 app. And I'll let Victoria share hers.
I'm trying to post little free things down there too. Guys, Canva's awesome. Kendall, listen to whatever Kendall says because she's fire and she knows exactly what she's talking about. You were sitting there and I'm like, yes, closed captions. People forget about closed captions and that's so important, guys. You're losing like 30 to 40, maybe even 50% of your viewers by not having just a little closed caption. And some people are saying, you can do it on Facebook. You can go to rev.com. It's like 25 cents or something for a minute, right? And just what I like to use is Canva because you can also do like those big lines you put in your video and you can say like, attention, what's going on with the coronavirus in Atlanta, right? So that people stop and it's like, oh yeah, that's related to me. I want to know what's going on. So I definitely use Canva for all of my videos. I use rev.com to get the transcript so that I can put it in the video. And just like what Kendall was saying with those transcript things, if you're not familiar with video, guys, that's okay. All of us, we didn't start off being good at video as well. I usually write scripts for all of my realtors. And I say, here, guys, here's what's going on in your market. You already know, and they ad lib as well. But I give them my framework of this is the points that you're going to cover. This is what you're going to say so that you can go in there and you have a roadmap, right? And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And here's the thing. Don't forget, you don't have to be perfect. People want to see that you're a human being. And human beings make mistakes, guys. I'm at a coffee shop because my internet shut down. It was like a mess, but I'm here. And that's the reality that people want to see. It's like, this is a real person. She's a little afraid on camera. She's stumbling, but I stumbled too. I like this person. I want to follow her. I want to learn more about what it is she's doing, right? It's just being a human being.
Well, and I feel like that's the overriding message that we've all just talked about today. I mean, I just be, be human, be a helper, get on camera, as we talked about, being real. And I think that goes back to kind of what I was saying earlier about, like, you can't automate it. You can't automate what you're doing here and being real and showing up. So I want to be cognizant of our time. I know we just have a couple minutes left. I know a lot of people are asking like how to get in contact with you guys. So I'm sure you'll put your social handles and everything in the chat. Any last minute things that either one of you want to share? Any thoughts or tip or anything before we wrap up our session?
Yeah, someone asked if we had some ideas for content creation, and ironically enough, I have a list of like 25 content ideas that I came up with for agents during COVID and after. And so I just wanted to share a couple of those ideas really quick, and then I'll let Victoria have her final words. But an example of a video that you could do are what are 3 things that have changed with the new physical distancing guidelines in real estate? Like, how is this impact? What's changed? And then also 3 things that haven't changed. You could do 2 different videos on that. You can do a video on the fact that, kids are not in school. Where are the resources for them to get food, for them to have activities? Like, what are the safe social distance or physically distanced activities that they can now do? You could do a video on sharing your own testimony, what this experience during COVID has been like for you. People will relate to that when you're sharing a story and sharing identifiable and empathetic experiences. People will empathize with you, right? Another thing is call your sphere of influence and find out what they want, right? What do they want to know about? What are their questions about how this has impacted things? And then the last one is more interviews. Interview your home inspectors. Talk to them about what's changed and what hasn't changed. Interviews with title, interviews with lenders, you know, get insurance, like homeowners insurance, you know, all the different vendors that a homeowner is going to have to interact with, or a home buyer is going to have to interact with through the process. Start doing interviews with them, asking them questions. Put long form content on YouTube, and then short 60-second content on Instagram, 5-minute content on IGTV, 5 to 10-minute content on Facebook. You know, break it up. You can take one interview, chop it up, send it to Fiverr, chop it up, and you have content for, you know, weeks and months, you know, going forward. So that would be, and I have a video on YouTube with these things, by the way. Same YouTube channel. It's Improve Your Hustle YouTube, Improve Your Hustle podcast, Improve Your Hustle Instagram. So that's me.
I love it. Everywhere across the board.
I'm consistent. My branding's consistent.
That's good. That's good. All right, Victoria, what about you?
Improve your hustle, guys. Follow Kendall. She knows what she's talking about. And the thing is, I just want to piggyback on everything that she just said. And if you're thinking right now, oh my gosh, this was so much information, I don't know where to start. Guys, all I would like to say to you is start with one thing. You just do one thing every single day. And you know, Kendall just gave you a lot of great ideas. Pick one that resonates with you, and you can keep reusing that content, right? Let's say what resonates you is 3 things that you need to know right now in Atlanta about selling your home during coronavirus, right? Write an article about it. Make a Facebook, right? Now, once you do that Facebook Live, post it on YouTube. Now make that into your Instagram video. And guess what? It's the one little article you wrote that you're repurposing 15 different ways. And then if you want to get really fancy, here's a bonus tip, guys. You know how I get all my clients in the local paper? I just write out an article about this is what's going on in the local times from their point of view. And then they get in the paper. It's crazy. Because the thing is, your local paper, guys, is so desperate for original content. A lot of times they source content from big branded names because they just don't have enough local authorities. So if you send a message to your local editor being like, I wrote this and it's really relevant about what's going on. People should buy our house in our city. They're going to pick you up, guys. They're going to love you. They're going to say, please write more content, right? And then you get to be that authority and say, look, I was featured in our local paper. Everybody go buy the local paper. I was just in it, right? So this is one example of just taking one good idea and running with it, you know, repurposing it in lots of different ways. Hope that's helpful. Love it.
Well, you're speaking my language. I'm a huge believer in repurpose, repackage, work smarter, not just harder. All right, well, I want to be cognizant of our time. Kendall, Victoria, I know we could probably talk for another couple hours about all this, but this was fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing your tips and your heart and your wisdom. I so appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you who are chatting in the chat here today. I know, you know, Kendall and Victoria, I'm going to imagine are going to stay on for a few minutes to pop in the chat and answer a few questions from you guys if you have direct questions for them. I'm sure they'll post some links in the chat too, so you guys can all connect with them as well. So thank you so much, ladies. I so appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was so good. It was so good. I'm so excited. You know, this is such a great conversation, and I think that's such a great segue into our next conversation about video. And I know we already talked a lot about video with Kendall and Victoria, but we are going to talk about video some more because it is an important conversation. And so we're going to talk about it. I'm excited to bring on 2 very special people. Sue Pinky Benson, who's also a dear friend of mine. She's known as the Pink Lady of Real Estate. She's a realtor with Remax Realty team. And then we have George Guerrera, who is the president and CEO of Real Estate Salesforce. And I had the pleasure of chatting with both of these folks over the past few days. And I think you guys are definitely in for a treat because we are going to share some tips and ideas from both of them. And both of them are in the Florida area. And they have very similar ideas, but also some very different ideas as well. So I'm excited to bring them on here today. Sue and George, are you guys on camera? Can you guys hear me? I see your slides, but I see us slide.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I see George. The camera icon, you have a pink bar across the top. Sue, there's a little camera icon. It's like the third from the left. to toggle it on.
Yeah, I don't seem to have it.
By the way, Victoria and Kendall rocked it. Rocked it. I was glued onto my screen, listening, taking notes. What in the fuck? Our panel was.
They did. I know they did for sure. Sue, I saw you on camera earlier when you first joined.
I think they may have turned me off, so they have to turn me back on.
All right, gotcha. Let's see here. So Brittany, if you're in the background, if you have the power, so Brittany says, come back in with the mic and camera on. So Sue, you might have to leave and then log back in, it looks like.
Yeah, I was having some technical difficulties and I logged in and logged back out.
All right, well, we'll get started. We'll let Sue log out and log back in. So we're going to talk about video. We only have about 15 minutes. I'm going to start with you, George, while Sue's logging in and logging back out. So George, I was so excited to get to know you and to hear what you're doing. Why don't you let people know who don't know you, what you do, and a little bit about what you're doing with video? Because I think what you're doing is really very cool, very unique.
So you know what, great question. And you know what, I'm going to be honest with you. I was born in the boom, but I was raised in the crash. And during the crash, you know, you're forced to innovate. Think that when the market crashed, I was 26 years old in a reputation business. And the only way that I was able to compete and to really get some market share was to work harder to do things different. So think 12, you know, right when YouTube started, I made a commitment and I was going to videotape every single listing that I had. And my first video looked like I was having a seizure, and now it looks spectacular. So you know what? I think, you know, the fact that I did it, the fact that I remained consistent, and the fact that I used that to build my reputation and create a value proposition is really why I'm here today. You know, fast forward, you know, 12, 13 years, we have over 4,000 listings that we've shot. We get, you know, 50 to 60 to 70,000 views a month without even paying for marketing. And I can go on and on, but I want to give a shout out to Sue and give her a great time. Sue, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you over there this afternoon? You getting the afternoon thunderstorms?
Making it happen. It can't always be sunshine here in Florida.
So Sue, for people who don't know you, I can't imagine anyone who doesn't know you in the Inman community, but for people who don't know you, maybe you could just kind of give a quick 30-second of who you are and a little bit of your thoughts around video, because I know you teach and talk a lot about video marketing.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. Like, I've been an agent for over a decade now, and it was probably just about a decade ago I met the fabulous Katie Lance, and it was at a conference, and she was talking about the power of social media and video 10 years ago. And now I've been on stage 3 times with women talking about the power of video, and quite honestly, I'm like, what is it that they're not getting yet? You know, you guys got to embrace this. You got to use it. So I'm an active real estate agent here in beautiful Southwest Florida. So Naples, Marco, Fort Myers, Cape Coral, that's where I'm at. And I use video every single day in my life. Like, I honestly don't know what it's like not to be on camera anymore. And I don't say that because I like to look at myself. I really don't. It's just part of the way I communicate now.
That's awesome. So I want to start with you, Sue, first, because one of the things I know about you is you're a great storyteller. I think I tune into your Instagram lives or your whatever videos you're doing. You know, I'm in California, but I get drawn into what you're talking about because you do a really good job of like finding these little obscure facts and telling a story. And can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like that's one area that a lot of agents kind of struggle with, you know, when it comes to like saying something engaging on camera.
You know, and it is. It's because we overthink it. That's what it all comes down to, is that we're overthinking what we're doing. And, you know, being simple with just, okay, so my background's in journalism, broadcast journalism. So obviously I have a little bit of a love for the story side of things, but it's really not that hard. So for example, going out and showcasing a property, like we all do listing videos, or we should all be doing listing videos where, yeah, you can talk about the 3 bedrooms, the 2 bath, the 1,500 square feet or what have you. But if you really dive in and you start looking into like maybe the history of the community, why all the streets are named a certain, you know, after an Italian city or something to that effect. If you can find some little girth about the home, about the community itself, you're gonna you're gonna get in front of that audience and bring them in. They're gonna be riveted by what you're telling them. And most importantly, what I hear so many people say is like, oh, I had no idea about that. I had no clue. So I love to watch your stuff because you're giving me all this information I didn't know. And I've been on, you know, X, Y, and Z site, and I've been on that site. where they can get the stats, right? They can go there, they can get their, how big the house is, what the, you know, sometimes the community fees, but if you can really get in there and tell them something that they didn't know beforehand, you're going to build that trust that you want in the relationship, that they trust that you're knowledgeable, not only about the home, but about the way the transaction's going to go. So storytelling is an art, but you do have to take a little bit of time to research what you're going to talk about and be ready when you get in front of the camera. And, you know, when you're talking about repurposing content earlier, that's a great way to do it, is by you're telling the story. And by the time you get to the third time of doing the video, you're like, you know, because you've done the Instagram live, you've done the Facebook live, now you're doing the YouTube, you know, you know it. So it's really, it's just a matter of taking the time to do some researching on your property, about your communities, about the neighborhood, and just, you know, now we have Google, so Google that stuff.
Absolutely, exactly. That's what my kids do. So that's what we got to do. So George, one of the things I think is really cool that you do, obviously you do a tremendous amount of video production. We were talking, and you were talking about how you do docudramas that you're producing. How has that helped you grow your brokerage? I know it's a little bit of a loaded question, but we'd love for you to kind of talk about how it's helped you grow your business.
Listen, great question. And let me be honest with you. I'm an independent broker in South Florida, one of the most competitive real estate markets in the world. With that being said, I have to work harder. I got to do things differently. I got to keep on, you know, trying to figure out where the trend is in order to stay relevant. And I love being in that position because it keeps me sharp. As we spoke earlier, I started with property videos, and I think they did a great job of, again, creating some proof of success for agents, helping with that emotional decision and creating it online. But I felt there was something missing. And when I heard Sue and when I heard about her history, you know, and we spoke earlier, you know, she's awesome. And to bring people in, to capture people's attention, you know, sort of like a news reporter, and capture, you know, bring people in, I think is the ultimate gift. And I think it's definitely the way. But I also do think there's an opportunity for what I do, which is called a little bit of a docudrama, which is show a 1 minute short. And again, my goal is very simple. I want to show my agents with a smile, talking about the passion they have for the industry, showing them in the act of. And we know this from my experience. You know, 20 years ago, people would call to verify how you did as an agent. Today we Google. And I just want to make sure that when they Google, that they find these cookie crumbs of information that show that agents are for real, that they're professional, and that they know what they're doing. How has that helped me from a brokerage perspective? You know, I'm going to say this from a retention perspective, you know, not even a recruitment, from a retention perspective, going out there and creating collateral that really moves the needle for the agent, I think has been a game changer. And again, as a broker, technology and innovation has diluted some of our value proposition. I think we have to go in there and attack that value proposition that technology can't hit. And that's production, storytelling, you know, connecting with the consumer. And again, with so much noise out there, you know, I think it's really important to separate yourself from the pack and add video to your portfolio. And as you can see with Sue and the conversations earlier, man, video's like water. It can go anywhere. It can do anything. It can reinvent it. The question is, how creative are you? You can cut it up. You can make it long. You can make it short. But it's really about figuring out what resonates with your audience and keeping, you know, some consistency with it and growing it.
Yeah, I love that. I love the water analogy, right? Perfect for Florida as well.
You know what? I did a presentation and I wanted to have a Bruce Lee quote. And it would be like water. Be like water.
Be like the water. That's a good tweetable right there. Be like water.
Video for me is like water. And I tell this to my agents. I can put it on YouTube. I can text it. I can put it on a QR code. There's many ways to get your message off. You just got to really know how to distribute your content and get it in front of the eyes of the people that need to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to ask you, Sue, I know you do a ton with live video specifically, and I have seen you and your husband, Josh, who's also your business partner, just do a ton of stuff with virtual open houses. And I know a lot of people who are watching now are doing a lot of virtual open houses or trying to figure out how they're doing it. I've also loved seeing you just do some drive-bys in your community as you're highlighting your community. Can you talk a little bit about the work that you're doing with virtual open houses and how that's impacted your business?
Sure. You know, I think first of all, as human beings, we get so hung up on terms. So all of a sudden during the pandemic, this new term comes out, virtual open house. And we're all like, oh my gosh, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? What do I have to do? And I'm like, y'all, it's a Facebook Live. Like it's a video of property, it's a walkthrough. And then you get hung up on whether or not it's live or it's taped or it's something that is more than the 5 or 15 photos you're putting in the MLS. It's another way for the consumer to take in the property and see it like, oh, in live time. So, you know, honestly, I've done so many live videos on open houses over the years that, you know, when you talk about whether or not it's live or a replay, I'm going to tell you that the gold is in the replay. Right? Like that's where the people actually come in and they can watch it on their time and they can send me messages that way. So yeah, you might do one virtual live open house, but then you can take that video and you can use it, you know, regarding your MLS and the board rules and regs, but you can potentially use it as a virtual open house that's ongoing and playing for that property every day. So there's all kinds of ways to use it, but I digress. I mean, yeah, I've done a lot of Facebook Lives and doing a virtual open house. Now we have the ability, thank you, MLS, for, you know, our boards finally coming together and going, oh, wait, we need a little more technology in our lives. Like, yeah, we've been paying you for it. Let's see it, you know? So now we have the ability to do these. And what was interesting to me was the other day I did a poll of my Instagram and what have you. And all these agents are like, I don't even know if we have it. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to do it. And I'm like, you guys have got to ask the questions. You've got to go and ask your broker. You've got to go and ask the board and say, hey, how can I do this? How does it work? What are your rules so that I know how to do it? But for Josh and I, during the pandemic, we obviously couldn't get out to show houses, but we could showcase communities. So we would take out our car, the pink Beetle. As you guys know, I have a little pink VW Beetle. Put the top down. Josh drives, I'm in the passenger side, and we go through a community and we talk stats, right? So we talk about, okay, you can get a condo in here, you can get, you know, you can get a carriage home, you can get a luxury estate, and talk about the average price point, the days on market. What are the fees? Can you have pets? Can you rent in the community? All of these things that people want to know about the community, because we know statistically they want to know about the community before they look at the houses, right? So I've had huge success with doing those Facebook Lives and then repurposing it over on YouTube and getting in there, like with Karen Carr and her great book on YouTube for real estate agents, and really diving into the SEO and making sure that I'm hitting those, because those in the replay, and then sending it out to your database saying, hey, you want to know more about, you know, Vanderbilt Beach? Here's a video on the community. And then boom, they're like, oh, wow, thanks, that was great, you know, and we've had huge success with that.
That's awesome. Well, surprisingly, we only have 15 minutes to talk about all this, and we are at that 15-minute mark, which is crazy. So I want to be cognizant of our time. I know we've got some other folks coming up in a second. Will both of you, when we're done here, will you put your contact info in the chat? That way we can everyone can connect with you through socials. And I, you know, if anyone has any questions, of course, feel free to reach out to George or Sue. Any last closing thoughts that you guys want to leave with as we kind of finish up this session with video? It's such a huge topic, obviously.
So you know what? First of all, I want to thank Katie and Sue for allowing me to share the stage with you too. My final thought is simple. As a real estate professional, you have an appraiser, you have a mortgage lender, you have a title. It's time to add a videographer and a content creator to your arsenal. I think moving forward, this is just as important as any one of those people there. And I think if you want to be an agent in 2020 and beyond, start looking for that high school kid, the college kid, or even stepping up and paying some nice money for some great collateral and content. With that, thank you, ladies.
Thank you, George. I love that. Sue, how about you?
You know, I just want to say that I think there's a great divide. You know, there's the agents who get video, they're using it, they know how to use it. Now when they go out, you know, they can say, oh, I use video. But I think the divide is there's the other side that don't get it, don't want it, and their clients don't get it and they don't want it. But at some point there's going to be a cliff and it's going to drop off, and it's going to be, the question's no longer going to be, do you do video? It's going to be, oh, you don't do video? Will be the comment, you know, like, oh, you don't know how to do video? Because I know with my kids, they're like, that's their expectation. So, you know, it's all about what George said. It's all about where are you going in the future? Are you going to stay and still work with the MLS pictures and, you know, sticking a pole in the ground and hoping for the best? Or are you going to really embrace the technology that is now everywhere and we can use it?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, thank you both so much, George, Sue. You guys rocked it, of course. Make sure you guys are following what they're doing. They are putting out some great content, and they are leading by example, walking the walk and talking the talk. So thank you both, and thank you everyone for tuning in today. This hour and 15 minutes, or however we've been along together, has really flown by. I sure appreciate it. I'm going to be sticking around too. I'll put my contact info in the chat so we can all chat. Big thanks to the Inman team for pivoting as well as we are going through this new way we are doing events. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.
All right. How about that? Uh-oh, what'd I do? Pause that. All right, so we got another one under our books. What's up? Got more people on the call. I mean, on the virtual real estate rerun. So that was our second video of the day. What I've decided to do instead of, I know day one, I waited to the end of all the videos to offer my commentary. But what I'm going to do this time is we are going to, I'll do it in between videos, because our next video is roughly about 12 minutes. And then she's going to give us some insights as far as wellness. This is coming from the CEO of Exit Realty. And she's going to give us some ways of how she starts her day, gets her business going. But man, that was a lot that we were able to take in as it relates to the insights that they gave around marketing. So I'm just going to speak to a little bit of what I got. Feel free to unmute yourself or, put it in the chat. I know we've been having some challenges with Merle as far as hearing her. So, but I do have the chat open.
Still can't hear me, right?
What everybody is saying. But man, I thought, I thought it was good that they talked about the time is now to be helpful and authentic. I'm really big on that. I feel like realtors spend too much time following the crowd. Not necessarily. I was just having this conversation with somebody a day or so ago that as realtors, we just, we get in the business and then we start looking at what other realtors are doing, and then we just start copycatting what other realtors are doing, but we never ask the question of if it works or not. Like, we never measure it. We never determine if what they're doing as it relates to marketing is getting the results. A lot of times as realtors, we don't even go into it with the mind frame of I'm doing this to get a particular outcome. We get caught up in the fact that we just got to start doing something. And that's been a big, big challenge. So what they were giving us was they were giving us a different way to look at it, a different way to think about it as we build our strategy around marketing, how to market yourself, build business. And ultimately the outcome that you should be looking for is to attract leads. You want to create a system or a vehicle that you can put out on a consistent basis, and it draws you business. And if that's not what it's doing, then it's not working. So you need to assess it. So that's what you need to measure. You need to measure, are you getting the results? Or is the phone ringing? Are you getting people that you have a chance of converting? I'm not saying your marketing needs to bring you clients. What I'm saying is your marketing or your prospecting or whatever that strategy looks like needs to bring you prospects. And then through your sales process, you take those prospects and you turn them into clients. So it's a completely different thing. So we gotta start approaching this whole marketing piece differently and approach that strategy differently. They did give some great ideas as far as some great methods of how to deliver your messaging. One of them was Facebook groups. They talked about that and utilizing that to build community. Talked about turning off automation and for us to really get personal and for us to get back re-engaged and reconnected to our audiences, to our customer base. They talked about hosting weekly happy hours or virtual meeting groups. Again, these are great ways to position yourself as an expert, because as you position yourself as an expert, that's when you're going to attract and you're going to draw people that have a real estate need, because they see you as a professional and as providing value. They also talked about utilizing Facebook Live. As you all know, that's something that we really utilize a lot through our Mastermind Through Tough Times. Even before we started this event, I went live on our Facebook business page as a way to drive content digitally across social media. As we are literally in this event right now, I sent a post on my LinkedIn of just a quick video of me sitting here telling my audience, hey, this is what my Wednesday looks like, right? And then I put a little note, if you're a realtor, you may want to consider taking advantage. So it's those things that when you consider marketing, how you become attractive, right? Because if somebody on my LinkedIn sees it, then it drives them to the registration link. Boom, I capture their information. And now it's a possible prospect of someone that we could talk to as far as joining Brooks and Davis. Like, that's what marketing needs to look like. She did mention a couple of books. The Color of Law, I am familiar with that book. Talks about redlining and how it's affected Black people. And then Think, Say, Do. Gave out some resources. BombBomb, I'm familiar with that. That's an email platform where you can send out email videos. MailChimp, send out mass email marketing. Canva. We use MailChimp. We use Canva for our design work. StreamYard, we use that when we do our Facebook Live videos from Mastermind through Tough Time. She talked about Asana, that's a project management app. I'm not familiar with that. Box Brownie, I am familiar with that, where you can go take pictures and then send the pictures to them, and then they'll virtually stage the picture. They'll put stuff in the picture. Video Shop app, I'm familiar with that, that you can use for video editing. So the resources are there. I'm familiar with the resources, but even if you look, you can go to Google and find out this stuff. But you can definitely just engage me and I give you the information. I can tell you exactly what to do. And we do that. We definitely utilize that through our coaching to work with you on building these strategies, these marketing strategies. Because at the end of the day, guys, marketing is just one of 3 aspects that you're going to need to have a sustainable real estate business. It's just one of them. So we can sit here all day long and we could talk marketing, and you can have the best, most prolific, robust, and effective marketing strategy driving prospects to you daily. You can have that set up. But if you haven't dealt with those other 2 areas, like your sales process or your transaction management process, and you don't have systems and processes in place to cover those other 2 areas, then you having the best marketing system in place is not going to do nothing for you anyway, because you're not going to be able to get that prospect to the closing table. So this is just one part of it that these young ladies and this gentleman talked about today, gave us some insights around building that strategy and that system within that area. One of the young ladies, was a big emphasis on video. Now is the time for you to get comfortable with video. Again, Facebook Lives, YouTube channel, Zoom meetings, all this stuff is video. All of it's recording. I'm recording this right now, and you can take it, edit it, create you bite-sized pieces of content, and you can push out as you expand and grow your digital audience. So those opportunities are there. They talked about, she gave this acronym for leadership. I'm a big proponent of leadership as well. She said L is listen, E is empower, A is appreciate, and D is develop. So if you can do that as it relates to your audience, and I keep saying audience, because as a realtor, you have to build people, you have to build a following of people paying attention to you. Because the reality is that when a person decides to do a real estate transaction with you, they make that decision probably 6 to 12 months prior to using you. So if you cannot maintain their attention for that length of time, then you're not going to be able to grow business. So you have to build an audience. And the way that you build an audience and you maintain their attention is that you continue to drive content, valuable content. One of the things that they talked about is content that's about them, that's going to help them. You just continuing to push stuff in people's face. I want to help you buy a house. Pick me if you're in the market. If you continue to throw that stuff in people's face, they're not going to pay attention to you. But if you're providing value, which is what they talked about, statistics, talking about communities, giving insights around properties. When you're giving that information to people and it's not salesy, then that's the stuff that when they're ready, they're going to reach out to you. I had a lady call me yesterday, reached out about wanting to sell her house. Look, I don't know where if she's on social media with me or if she's on my phone, but what I do know is I went to church with her and we was in Sunday school together, and I made it easy for her to stay connected to me. So it was easy for her to send me a text, right? It was easy for her to reach out to me when she was ready. So you got to stay relevant in the eyes of your audience. And every day I'm looking to grow my audience. You should be doing the same. And you can do that by providing valuable, relevant content on a consistent basis. Creating relevant content on a consistent basis is how you maintain and grow your audience to where it'll consistently provide you business opportunity. That's what it is. So, and look, if you need help with it, you got the best broker in the world, man. You know, I got you covered, right? So the reality is that we can get it done. They talked about digital door knocking, which was about building digital relationships, right? So, you know, as we are in self-quarantine and things are on pause as far as engaging people personally, there's this digital world that that you have the time now to capitalize on. It's just a matter of beginning to do it. And videos and information like this is there to help you understand the strategies and resources, not reinvent the wheel. Like there's nothing new under the sun. You don't have to figure it out. The information's out there. This person's in Florida is willing to give you this information because guess what? You're in Houston. You're not his competition. So yeah, that's why these national conferences and these international conferences are so effective, because people are comfortable giving you their secrets because they know you're not in direct competition with them. So it's great content out there in the world that you can utilize, you can capitalize from. She talked about this Big View app. That was her #1 video editing app. She talked about using it for a teleprompter until you get comfortable doing video, using red.com to get transcripts. They talked about closed captioning. That's a big takeaway that I'm going to take from it, is utilizing closed captions in the videos on social media, because she's right. When that video shows, it's muted. And a lot of times people don't unmute. You know, I had a conversation with my wife. She says it. She looks at videos on mute.
That happens to me.
Yeah, Merle said the same thing. She looks at videos on mute, and then based on what she sees determines if she'll listen to it or not. So there needs to be some kind of captioning that people can read, because that's the habit and the pattern. So that was a takeaway for me. And then she gave me this app now that I guess they can do the transcript for you, that you can upload to the video for closed captioning. I'm gonna absolutely look into that. All right. She talked about ideas, a couple of ideas for doing videos, 3 things as far as social distancing, how it's affecting things, what has not changed, what are activities that you can do. So, you know, again, rethinking and refining the way you approach marketing and what you think about it, right? And look, do not get caught up in looking at what other realtors are doing, because I promise you, 95% of realtors are not marketing correctly, okay? 95% of realtors are not effectively marketing, meaning getting results from the marketing that they're putting out. That's not effective. So be very cautious of that. And if you are going to look at somebody that you see is doing a lot of marketing, a lot of input, then man, take them to lunch, get some coffee with them, pick their brain and see if it's really working, right? Before you begin to try to build your business and build strategy around it. See if it's effective. It's more than just eyeballs. If you're gonna make money in this business, it's more than just giving the perception that a lot of people are paying attention, right? It's more than just likes. It's more than just shares. It's more than just comments. It's more than just impressions. It's more than just clicks. It's more than all of that, right? You got to put yourself in a position where you can measure and you can verify that these activities work, because the reality is that we all get the same 24 hours. You don't get no extra time. So you best use it in the most effective manner to move you in the direction so you can get the results that you want. All right. So those were great ideas. She talked about calling your sphere of influence. Got to call your sphere of influence. But what's even more important than that is that you got to make sure you got the right message of what you're going to say when you call them. Have the right outcome in place of what you want by calling them. So, and that's another takeaway for me. I don't feel like we're maximizing our sphere of influence as far as being in contact with them as consistent as we feel like we need to be. So that's something else that I'm churning in my head on. How can we be more effective as it relates to that as well? They talked about doing videos of listings, but when you do the video, I thought this was great. Do videos of listings, but it's more than just a tour. Talk about 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Like, get away from giving people information that they can get from Google. Like, don't compete with Google. You're gonna lose. So if a person wants to know those specifics, they can go to Google and they can get that. But like one of the things she said, telling a story, come up with a story of what you can say around the house, the listing, or the community that a person can't easily access from Google. That's the stuff that you need to be video, and that's the stuff you need to be putting out in this digital world. Then they just talked about the docudramas, virtual open houses. I think there's a big play right now for doing virtual open houses. And guess what? You only got to do it once, right? You do a virtual open house. If you're effective in it, effective in the messaging, and then you're effective in understanding the different methods that you can utilize to spread it into this digital space. As long as you have a conversation with your seller about it, I really believe you can package it to where that will be more impressive to your seller than physically doing open houses every weekend, right? So there's a much smarter and much more efficient way to do this business. And now is the time. Corona has now spread a flashlight on the inefficiencies of how we do this business, right? So take heed to it, that we're not going back. The world is not going back, right? So now is the time to learn and adjust and begin to make the moves while we are somewhat still on pause, but we are coming out of it very quickly. So do not get left behind. All right. We got one more session left today. This is called Breaking Through, Real Talk and Walking the Walk. It's a talk of habits and strategies and best practices as it relates to confidence, as it relates to being successful. And those things are very key. Remember, we're all about the psychology of this thing here at Brooks and Davis. So 80% of it is psychology. 80% of success is psychology. It's how you feel, it's what you're thinking. You know, those are the things that drive what you do, and what you do drives the results that you get, right? So if you're not dealing with your thoughts and you're not dealing with your feelings, and you wondering why you're not doing the things you know that you need to be doing, and you're not getting what you want, is because you're not dealing with those things, right? What you're focusing on, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. So they're going to give us some insights as it relates to that for our last session. Like I said, it's about 12 minutes, and then we'll be done for the day. All right, so let me cue it up. And I really appreciate y'all taking advantage, man. I think this is some great information.
Yes.
Going to help you all continue to move in the direction that you want to move as it relates to being successful in this business. Feel free to make comment. I am looking at the chat, monitoring the chat. So go to the chat and talk to me. All right, here we go.
Hi, Inman community. You know, I want to talk to you today about something personal, actually personal to you. I want to talk about your business being more personal and about you being more personal. Mindset is 4 times as important as what I'm doing for activities. Truly, 4 times as important. Where my headspace is, how I start my day is so important. So even if you take 15 minutes and just have silence and maybe meditate or read some sort of quiet, I'm going to share with you what I do. I literally practice savers. So it's silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing, writing. I do it for about an hour every morning, and what it does is it helps me to be in complete control of my day, and it starts me off on the right foot. But here's where a lot of people are. Number 1, there are people that are stressed. Stress comes from unfinished business. A lot of people were overwhelmed when this pandemic started, and they stopped doing all the right activities, and so now they feel like they have this extreme weight on their chest and they have to ramp up really quickly, and there's a lot of fear involved. Fear is a feeling, not a fact. And I think that's something really important to understand. So we have people that are stressed on this side, brick on their chest. And then we have a brick on the chest on the other side of people that have anxiety. They're full of anxiety, and it's fear of the unknown, right? They don't know what's going to happen next. But all of us have lived in the unknown before. Every single one of us has lived in the unknown, that we didn't know what was going to happen next at some point in our lives, and we're still here. So what we do is we need to focus on being in control. And being in control starts, just like I said, starting your day off right, but it's more about being in the present tense. Every time you feel like you're not in the present tense and you feel yourself stressing or you feel yourself going in the other direction, you can do one of two things that will help you right away. Number one, take some really deep breaths and just think about a really happy, positive position. Just take some really deep breaths, close your eyes, and picture something that was really good. Or close your eyes and visualize how you want the day to go. I take 120 seconds before I leave my house, and I literally, or before I leave a hotel room, depending on where I am, and I visualize, how do I want the day to go? How do I want those people to feel? What do I want to be different? And I'm telling you, because I've been doing it for so long, it comes out so close to how I visualize it, it isn't even funny. And that helps you to stay in control. So let's get back to personalization. Personalization, 90% of consumers want a trusted advisor. In fact, exactly what they want is a trusted advisor, speed, and transparency. So you want to personalize your business. And by personalizing your business, you want to make sure that you serve your consumer well. And this is for brokers and agents as well, by the way. You can personalize to every individual agent you're working on recruiting or every single person you're working on merging. And it's actually a good idea because you'll find out if your belief systems match and if your business philosophies match. It works in recruiting, it works in acquiring other companies or merging other companies, and it definitely works in gaining business. It's all about investing in people. If you invest in people, you'll get an unbelievable return. In fact, it'll happen in multiples. It is 122% return on personalization, making it personal to them. So Google them, friend them on Facebook, connect with them on LinkedIn, put them on a Facebook list so that they come to your feed every day so you know what's going on in their lives. The more you know about what's going on in their lives, and the more you can personalize directly to them what's really important to them, what are their real estate dreams, regardless of whether that's an agent joining your office or a consumer. What are your dreams? Where do you see yourself in the next 1, 3, 5 years? How can I be of assistance in that process? So that's definitely an important part of this puzzle. Typically, we have about 25 people that are the most influential people in our lives that give you the most referrals, do the most transactions, and those are the people that you really want to fine tune, you really want to concentrate on. And then next we have allies. Allies that, and I can tell you that right now in this time, they couldn't be more important. Allies, people that are in the, and I'm going to give you a few new ones today, but people that are real estate related. Mortgage companies, appraisers, home inspectors, insurance companies, all of these companies, you want to find somebody with a good reputation that will help you to have a perspective. That accurate knowledge of being a trusted advisor, number one, you have to build a relationship, which we just spoke about, but then you have to make sure that you're providing more value and giving a better return than anybody else. So if I look at the mortgage companies, think about it right now. Interest rates are going down. There may be past clients that you can give them advice that, hey, hold, I think that interest rates are the lowest they're going to be. You might want to refinance right now. You can give them good advice by educating yourself. Connect with that group of allies. I recommend you have a dozen. I always call it a dirty dozen, but connect with those allies and find out what's going on. What happened in the mortgage business in 2019? What's happening in 2020? We know that there's mortgage forgiveness for a 6-month time frame because of the pandemic, anybody that was impacted. It's all about making sure that I help that consumer. I'm going to add 2 spaces for you, 2 places. One is the planning board or municipalities. We are going to see a tremendous amount of change. We're going to see a lot of zoning changes. Maybe it's a shopping mall that turns into a condo project or a commercial property that actually ends up with mixed use. We're going to see people have the opportunity for smaller lots. We're going to see people actually upsize because they realize that they could be home more often. People move because of their circumstances, and we're seeing a lot of circumstances change. Another one I want you to pay attention to that I think most people won't think of, because they always think of a migration chart, and that is moving companies. And moving companies for business and moving companies for personal. People will, you'll start to find out where people are flowing to. And it's probably not going to be identical to what the migration chart is. There are going to be people that are literally going to leave the country and go have a better quality of life. There are going to be people that are going to move out of the cities and move an hour further out because they only have to go to their office once or twice a week, and that they can satellite from home the rest of the time, and that they can afford more further out. We are going to see so many changes. So make sure you pay attention to moving companies, because they'll have an easier access. I know a long time ago, when I was actually focused more on real estate day to day, I actually did a relocation that 33 people were relocating in a company, and I actually got 31 of them. And it was all from making sure that I was the resource. So here's the statement of the decade: income equals value. The more value you provide for these individuals, the more income you're going to earn. Don't worry about how much money you're going to make. Don't worry about nailing the presentation. Worry about how much value you're adding to that individual that's in front of you. And it doesn't matter if it's the consumer that's in front of you, your allies, that their children, your allies, and the people that are your consumer. Maybe they're struggling with making a mortgage payment, and you can give some sound advice. Who are they going to remember? You know that it's going to always be adding value. Also add value to your community, the community that you serve. It really makes a huge difference. And it will also give you education so that you'll be able to see trends before other people. You know, time is our most valuable asset. This goes back to the things, the weight on your chest, right? Time is your most valuable asset. And we spend 20% of our time gaining 80% of our results. Imagine that. 20% of our time gaining 80% of our results. So you know what? The smartest thing for you to do is to really measure, where am I getting the most results from? Where am I gaining the most return? And part of how you do that is by knowing your skill sets. We're all good at a couple of things. And the more I can actually be understanding of my skill sets, put together a list of pros and cons. Here's the things I love doing. Here's the things I don't love doing. Here's the things that I would love to pass on to somebody else because it's a huge distraction. It's another weight on my chest. Here's the things that I really excel. Ask a group of your most trusted advisors, a handful of people, where they see your strengths, where they see your biggest skill set, and really focus in those directions. If I made that 20% of my time into 80% of my time, I'm going to make 4 times the income. It's okay as a broker to say, you know what, I'm not the personable person that's going to be in here having a cocktail with you. I'm not going to be the person networking, but I do know how to solve problems, and I can actually help you to do more than anyone else. They're sitting there saying, how does it impact me? How does it affect me? So is the consumer. That's why the more personal it is, yes, do the homework on the property, but do more homework on the person. I can tell you that it's the biggest way that I have broken records in my life. Next on the list, you want to measure impact. You want to know how am I doing, right? Am I meeting expectations? Am I exceeding expectations? What am I doing? And you really want to make sure that you are authentic and transparent. So that's what's going to make people follow you. And how you can be more authentic is asking, what could I do better or more that's going to add value to you? Own it, and own it even when you make a mistake. Reach out. I'm telling you, I've ended up with so much more business from people that I reached out to and said, you know what, I was wrong. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. Or maybe you delayed calling somebody back. Pick up the phone. It's just a conversation. It's always just about building that connection with the person. So let's go back again just for a minute to fear and the concern of this, where we are and coming out of it. It's one step at a time. Doing things the right way, one step at a time. I recommend, at the beginning of the day, before you leave your house, take that 120 seconds, close your eyes and visualize how you want the day to go. At the end of the day, your work day, close your eyes and visualize what worked today. Because there are going to be some things that won't work. There's going to be some new changes. You're going to have to kind of reform habits. And I know this seems like an awful lot of habits, but it's just like learning how to drive. once you get into these right steady habits all the time, it will become automatic. You'll go from being incompetent to being consciously confident to being unconsciously confident, which is the place you want to be. Then it seems like it's a simple routine. Doing the homework on these people, I recommend that you do it an hour every single week, and then once a month, put together 4 hours to work on your life, not in it, on your business, not in it, so that you can plan ahead and so that you can maximize on every single opportunity. Then you'll have a lot more times that you're exceeding expectations. When you get under pressure, I'll tell you, actually, my mom said it better than anybody else. She always had a mantra, and her mantra was piece of cake. That's a piece of cake. And so I would say that before I went in to speak if I was nervous, or I would say that before I had to go have a confrontation or let somebody go, or that kind of thing. But I have a new mantra, and it doesn't matter whether you have a mantra or maybe you play Rocky or your favorite music that gets you totally revved up if you're nervous and you're trying to accomplish something. But do some one of those things. My mantra is fate whispered to the warrior, "You cannot withstand the storm." And the warrior whispered back, "I am the storm."
Whoa!
Oh.
That's what I'm talking about. All right.
I didn't expect that.
That's what I'm talking about. She is the storm. She is the storm. All right. So that was our last session for today. I took away a lot from that. And again, guys, feel free to unmute yourselves or type in the group chat to respond. But I thought that was a good one. Again, she's the CEO of Exit Realty. Just to piggyback a little bit on some of the things that she said that I agree with wholeheartedly. She talked about being conscious of how you feel. I know I was typing some stuff in there. The name of that session was called Breaking Through, Real Talk and Walking the Walk. That was the name of that one.
Okay.
And she talked about being conscious of how you feel, which I feel is extremely important. Again, it echoes what I said earlier, right? What we focus on creates a thought. What we think about creates a feeling. How we feel determines how we act, and how we act determines the results that we get. So if you're not paying any attention to your feelings, then you are definitely shortchanging the outcomes and results that you want. So she talked about that. She gave us what customers want, right? Say customers want a trusted advisor. They want speed. They want value. So what needs to happen is that you need to begin as a realtor to customize your experience. If you want to differentiate yourself from the other 40,000 realtors in our Metroplex, then do the things that she's talking about, because I promise you it's not being done. Realtors aren't doing it, right? I've been in this business 16 years. I've been a broker 14 of those years. I had multiple hundreds of realtors come across my desk through either interviewing, through signing up with us, through being a part of with us and leaving, like over 100. I got the list of them. And what I know is that most realtors, even through my engagement, I would even say more than 100, because even through my engagement at different networking events and associations that I've been a part of, so it's probably upwards of thousands of realtors that over my 16 years that I've run into, that most of them are not operating and behaving as it relates to what she talked about. That's the difference between top performing agents and everybody else. So she talks about customizing your experience. That's how you'll differentiate, because guess what? Nobody can be you better than you. So if you customize your experience and you make it about who you are, there's no one that can compete with you on that and effectively compete with it. So focus on building your business around you and understanding who you are. She said that there's a 122% return off personalization. When you personalize your experience for customers, you get 122% return on whatever you invested in that, whether that's through money, whether that's through time, 122% return. And as she was talking, what came to my mind is, as I continue to talk to you all and remind you all about how we coach and we're all about development, in reality, as sales professionals and as realtors, she's saying you need to coach your client. You're there to coach them through to receive an outcome that they want. whether that's to buy a house, whether that's to sell a house, rent a house, get an apartment, commercial, land, whatever their real estate need is, they come to you and you're there to guide them, do the things that coaches do to ensure that they get the outcome that they want, not what you want, not how you want to drive them. You're there to guide them to get the outcome of what they want. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what coaches do. So you guys are coaches. She gave an idea around 25 top people as it relates to referrals, honing in, again, takes me back to what I said earlier about audience. What she's saying is that of your audience, identify those raving fans, right? Identify what, like if you was a rock concert, you know, they had groupies, identify who your groupies are, right? The ones that are complete advocates for who you are and they're driving your business and referrals. Identify those people and continue and nurture those people. She said, you know, up to 25. I've heard some people go as high as 75, like your top 75 people. And you ensure that you're really engaging with them every couple of weeks or at least once a month. Then she talked about allies, getting these 12 allies, these affiliates, whether it's mortgage companies, appraisers, the planning board. That was something that I never thought about. So that's a takeaway for me. Identifying your planning board of municipalities and moving companies and building relationships so you can gather insight as markets shift and move around, right? So that was a great takeaway as well. And she recommended having a dozen of these contacts and that you stay in contact with them on a consistent basis as well. And then this is, man, I really related to this one where she says income equals value, right? Stop chasing money. If you take your time and your energy and focus on becoming better, becoming a person that brings more value to the marketplace. If you spend your time and energy on that happening, I promise you, you will attract income. It will come. So that's how you make money. You become attractive. You don't chase it. Because as you chase money, it will ever elude you. Money is fast. It's nimble. It's agile. It's quick. And it knows how to get away from you, right? But when you become attractive and you draw it to you, then you ain't got to worry about it. So you got to focus on value, providing value. And then that's how the income and the money will come. She says, worry about how much value you are adding to that person that is standing in front of you and add value to the community that you serve. I talked about the phone call that I got yesterday from the young lady who wants to sell her house. We got connected because that was a time when I was the superintendent of the Sunday school at my church. That's the whole reason I even got connected to her, because I was providing a talent that I had of teaching and leadership. If I can run a real estate business, then I can run an adult Christian education department. And that was a need that my church had. Boom, I got in there. And look, 2-3 years later, my phone's ringing, I'm generating business, right? So serve the community, identify your talents, identify what you are good at, how you can enhance people, communities, and then you get in that vein, and that is going to put you in a position to where you become attractive and you draw business. I spend my day, I promise you, I spend my day doing the things that I love doing and that I'm good at. Anything other than that, I find a way to leverage something else to do it, right? I'm not the one, I don't focus on my weaknesses. What I do is I connect with, or I partner with somebody that's strong in that area. And then they may be weak in an area that I'm strong at, and we collaborate. But I don't focus on growing in my weaknesses. I focus on enhancing what I'm good at, what I enjoy doing it, as a way to enhance the collective. That's what I do, all right? Okay, so she talked about time. It's your most valuable asset. You spend 20% of your time gaining 80%. If you guys can ever figure that formula out, it's going to exponentially change your life. If you can ever figure that formula out of what is the 20% that's giving you the majority of the outcome and fulfillment that you want, you can figure that out. And then you rest in that zone of fulfillment, that's when everything is going to change for you, I promise you. So she's echoing the same sentiment. Finding that sweet spot, finding that target that you can rest in, and then get the bulk of the results that you want, right? She talked about measuring. That was something else we talked about earlier about marketing. You got to be able to be in a position where you can measure your impact. What am I doing? Am I meeting or exceeding expectations? And then own when you make a mistake. I thought all of that was great. I had to echo again what she said. Fear is one step at a time. Fear is a feeling, not a fact. It's a feeling, not a fact. And then she finished talking about visualization, which is something that I do on a consistent basis. I know we just went through our 21 days of meditation. If you were participating in that, I know that was a phenomenal experience for you. And through the meditation where we dealt with abundance, that's what she's talking about. Tapping into the vision, your mind's eye, because again, what you see is what you're going to be drawn to. And the way that our brain works, it doesn't have to really be there for your brain to draw you to it. Through your imagination, through your creativity, through your vision, you can visualize an outcome that you want and your body be drawn to it and you attract it. It works. I'm not telling you what I think. I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. It is something that I actively do. She just said the same thing. It's a great practice that you should take advantage of. Every day, you need to spend time visualizing what it is that you want out of life every single day, right? At least once a week, she talked about spending 4 hours on your business, on your life, not in it. Spend time determining what is the ultimate vision that you want for your life and ensure that you are on track to receive that. So that's how she ended it. And what that does is that ends our rerun for today. I know we went a little long, but I felt like there was some good takeaways out of those last 2 sessions. Next week, tomorrow, we got another one, another 2 hours from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I am going to send everybody that registered will get an email reminder about tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing Instagram for business, from likes to leads. Instagram from business. Also going to be talking about volumizing your real estate sales. So I think that's going to be a great one as well. How to get more organized lead flow and how to volumize your business, meaning scale it up. We're going to look at that. Also tomorrow, Faster to the Future. We're going to talk about how we'll recover and move forward together as it relates to where the market is. We're going to take a look at a 30, 60, and a 90-day housing look. I think that'll be good. So you guys can recognize trends and patterns to determine how we need to adjust, how you need to adjust to capitalize. And then we're also going to talk about the evolving ecosystem of real estate, the role that e-commerce and digital marketplaces, how they play as it relates to our marketplace. So you're going to hear from the CEO of Realtor.com. I think we're going to hear from the CEO of Zillow.com tomorrow as well. So we got some, we have some great content for tomorrow. I highly encourage you, take advantage. I'll stay on a little while longer if you want to stay, but this officially ends our virtual real estate rerun virtual real estate rerun volume 1, day 2. Thank you, Merle. Day 2, right? And we're going to have day 3 and day 4 tomorrow and Friday, respectively. If you guys have nothing else, I enjoyed it. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Like I said, I will hang on for a little bit if you guys want to talk, chat, offer comments, engage, whatever. But have a great one. See you tomorrow. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Merle. Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Merle is the bomb. Say we play a little bit of music. Everybody good? Looks like everybody's good. Geraldine, you got anything? You trying to talk to me? Nope. All right. That'll do it.